The Bengals beat the Giants on Sunday night. So is the glass half full or is it half empty? We'll get to that and much, much more right now on Enter the Jungle. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller. Make sure you check us out on Cincinnati Bengals Talk right here every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern, also weekly on Bally Sports. And really excited, as always, to have our sponsor, Garage Beer, on board. Shout out to Garage Beer, beer flavored beer, and we are presented by the Big Play Network. Even though this week, I'm not mentioning Big Play again after right now. And
Oh, man, I picked the wrong hat.
yeah, you picked the wrong hat for today's show. We'll get into week 7, but first let's reflect a little bit on week 6. The Bengals, they won, Andrew. They won. For the second time this year, we get to talk about a win. They're 2-4 on the season. They win 17-7. It was ugly, or at least it wasn't pretty. And so glass half full, glass half empty following a win, a road win over the New York Giants.
This would have been a great opportunity to have a garage beer here so we could actually do a glass half full or glass half empty. I did not think of that. Instead, I thought about wearing a big play hat when we're about to play Cleveland. But okay, here we are.
The glass is always empty because it tastes so darn good that you just drink it and then you're on to your next one and then to your next. No, that's just me. Oh, okay, my bad. That's just me. Go ahead.
You know, it's kind of odd because offense playing awesome, then offense looking just no rhythm, look lost. Up until that point, the glass half full was the offense. And then we got what we got, which was still a win, which was still plays that happened that determined the outcome of the game. They ended up winning the game. It ended up working out. Great. I don't know. I'm still on the glass half full side if we're going to go that route. Although during the game, if we're going with an analogy here, I couldn't help thinking about like the monkey's paw, right? Where you make a wish and then there's some really bad consequences to that wish. If you think about it that way, it's like, just give us an average defense, please. Just give us and then all of a sudden, offense loses rhythm. Sure, here's your defense, but the offense is going to lose their rhythm now. Can we get a stop? Yeah, stop happens, but then guess what? Zach Moss is going to fumble it right on the next drive. Like things like that. It just felt like you're just plugging holes, and it was frustrating to say the least. But digesting it, processing it, I'm feeling a little better.
I just keep coming back to it. You would have begged for this outcome week 1. Like winning ugly is so much better than losing however way. I mean, I think they've had a couple pretty losses overall where the offense is humming and you feel pretty good and it's like, oh, well, they're one play away or this or that. But the bottom line is no matter how pretty it is, no matter how cute it is, if you lose, it doesn't feel that way. And I was optimistic afterwards, even though it was ugly, even though it was muddy, even though there was a bunch of crap that was going on throughout the game. And even more so now, especially with a Cleveland Browns team that is looming, that is going to make it ugly. You better believe it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows with Myles Garrett, right? That's a tough matchup, and we'll get into it more. But good teams win games like that. And they find ways to win, even if it isn't with their offense putting up 30 plus for a 4th straight game. So I'm more encouraged than I am not. I'm more glass half full than I am not. At the same time, the Giants were shorthanded. No Malik Neighbors. They scored nearly 30 points without Malik Neighbors against Seattle. So it's not like they hadn't scored before, but I do think he would have changed things some. That being said, I still think you look at it, it's the second best defensive performance from a points allowed standpoint of the Zach Taylor era. They gave up 6 points to the New York Jets in 2019, his first win as head coach of the Bengals. Give up 7 to the Giants. They missed a couple field goals. I get it, but still you take it and you move on. And so they had to have that win for us to even be having a glass full of anything conversation. This is a much different conversation if they lose, and they handled business and got the win.
Yeah, I think if you were to look at it from a glass half empty standpoint, it would be, okay, offense looks great against Commanders, looks really good against the Chiefs, looks very, very good against the Ravens, yet they're struggling against the Patriots. They're struggling against the Giants. That's the glass half empty take. My side of it is going to be, we know, we saw, but with that said, we saw what the offense can do. We were complaining about the defense. We were concerned about the defense. We hadn't seen this season until now. And now that we've seen it, we already know what we can get from this offense. You can have a relatively down week. If this defense can show signs of life like this, I'm going to be on the glass half full side.
Yeah, I think that's where we need to go to next. And let's go there. This Bengals defense allowing 7 points, forcing 4 punts, forcing a key turnover in the red zone. Are they back? They stepped up in a big way. Are they going to be able to sustain this level of play? We will discuss that coming up next on Into the Jungle. Welcome back to End of the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. We are part of the Big Play Network, except not on Sunday. We will not be. Let's dive into before we get to Sunday's game and a huge Week 7 matchup in the AFC North. This Bengals defense, they give up 7 points against the Giants, force 4 punts, 2 turnovers on downs, an interception. Is that 7 stops? Man, had they gotten just 2 stops against the Commanders, we're talking about a different team now. That's 3-3. The
Yeah,
point is they got stops. They did their job. They're a big reason why they beat the Giants. Are you buying that this could be sustainable now that they are pretty healthy? They're still without Dax Hill for the rest of the year, but from a trench standpoint, as healthy as they've been all season.
I was never quite sure that they were as bad as they appeared in the weeks leading up to this game, but quite literally, they are back. They've got key players back. Look what BJ Hill did now that he's back. Look what Trey Hendrickson being able to actually rest a bit and be able to execute on the field at a high level, which he always does, but even that much more because of who you have back. Yes, we don't have Dax Hill any longer, but I'm seeing some things taking shape with the secondary. We've got players like DJ Turner stepping up, Jordan Battle getting, a handful of snaps, but maybe they'll start easing him in more too. So, yeah, I don't know about back because I don't know what this team would look like. This team that played this Giants team, now, if you were to put them in front of, again, the Ravens, again, the Chiefs, I don't know yet, but I'm feeling more confident. So maybe some level of confidence is back, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's still to be determined, of course. But for me, it's why you paid Sheldon Rankins. It's why you kept BJ Hill around. It's why you are paying Trey Hendrickson what you're paying Trey Hendrickson. Like this front should be good. It's why you use a 2nd-round pick on Chris Jenkins and a 3rd-round pick on McKinley Jackson. It's because you can rotate these guys in and out and have this rotation that can be disruptive and stop the run and be solid. And overall, I think they were. And so now can they sustain it? I don't know. I think it's reasonable to think that they should be much better than they were during that stretch where it was just awful. Just awful. They're giving up a ton of points, even 24 to Carolina, couldn't get off the field. And so that stretch really post Kansas City, where they were pretty good against Kansas City, and then after that, everything fell apart for 3 weeks. I think they're out of that funk, but I do wonder how good they are. Are they the 26th best defense in the league, or can they be the 18th best? Because if they're the 18th best defense in the league, then this is going to be a pretty darn good team. I believe in the offense, and I think that the offense will figure it out always. I mean, we're talking about the offense struggling. Joe Burrow's 19 of 28, completing 68% of his passes, has a 47-yard touchdown run. Like, I get it. It was ugly and it felt really ugly, but this offense is going to be fine. And so if this defense can be right around league average, I think the Bengals are still a problem. If not, then it's a problem because they need them to be about a league average, I would say.
And obviously consistency. Overall for the season, you can't have both sides being inconsistent. It's going to cost you, especially in the state that this team is right now. Fortunately, the offense was able to be as inconsistent as they were in this game because of the defense. Can the defense make key, big, game-changing plays? Yes, I think this defense can rest of season. How frequently, I don't know, but if we can at least count on some level of that, I think we're in a lot better shape than we were, to your point, in the games leading up to this. So optimistic, glass half full.
Let's stick with the defense before we get to Joe Burrow and what it's going to look like next week in Cleveland, or this week in Cleveland, rather. But to me, this defense going up against Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb going to be back. This is another week where you should be able to build. You should be able to go on the road and get stops, force some turnovers, get to Deshaun Watson, and that would go a long way, I think, in showing everyone that that's who they are, that they're going to get stops, that they're going to be able to stand up and make plays and be a disruptive unit. And they should be. Sheldon Rankins, Trey Hendrickson, you got Miles Murphy coming off the bench. Joseph Osai, like you need those two guys, Murphy and Osai. And I thought Osai was kind of bad against the Giants. You need those guys to step up, and we haven't necessarily seen that yet. So I do think that there's another level there, and that's what I'm looking for from a defensive standpoint this week against Deshaun Watson and the Browns.
Yeah, it feels as though this would be a prime opportunity for them, this defense to have another statement game. It's all laid out, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about Cleveland in general, but it feels like there's a bit of a script forming here. I don't know. There's a lot of numbers being thrown around of what this team, this Cleveland team is struggling with, and it just always feels like you put the Bengals in that position, and all of a sudden they hide those deficiencies miraculously. But okay, we'll get into that. That's a thing. It makes me a little nervous.
It is time to get into that. And so let's do it. Joe and the Bengals, well, they've struggled against the Cleveland Browns. We'll get into some of those numbers and look ahead to Sunday's matchup in Cleveland coming up next. Will Joe Burrow and the Bengals take down the Browns? Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He's Andrew Fox Miller. Joe has only done it once. He's 1-5 against Cleveland in his career. And you look at the numbers and they aren't bad. 10 touchdowns to 5 picks. Bad for him, of course, but I wouldn't call them bad. 1,500 yards passing. And it's one of those things, Andrew, where it's become a story, whether it is or not, whether it is accurate or not. And heck, his first career game against Cleveland, he threw 61 passes on a Thursday night game, 37 of 61, threw a touchdown to Mike Thomas in that game, had 3 touchdown passes, kept the Bengals in that one. They lose 35-30, couldn't stop the run. And then later that year, it's a back and forth game. The Bengals lose 37-34. Joe throws for 406, completes 75% of his passes, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Like, he's been good against the Browns in the past, but he's also had some struggles against the Browns and is obviously 1-5 against them. Do you buy this Burrow struggles against the Browns narrative, or do you think that that's more fiction than fact?
I try not to think too much about like historically what a player has done, especially when their supporting cast has changed to a pretty significant degree. When we talk about offensive line, especially when the defense is different for better or worse. With that said, I'm also naturally an anxious person. One might even say superstitious at times. So when those narratives are going out there, you can't help but let it weigh on you. To combat that, though, narratives are going out there about Deshaun Watson and this Cleveland offense. Things like I just saw today. Browns are first NFL team in 10 years to not score more than 18 points in any of their first 6 games. Keep putting that out there, because if you put that out there, something's got to give. I would be more nervous if Burrow didn't have these struggles in the past to motivate him to overcome them, because things like that make me nervous when the Bengals face them, because all of a sudden, Bengals allowed it to happen. They scored more than 18 points. Burrow's overdue on his end. So I like it weighing it both ways there.
Yeah, since his rookie year, Joe has started 4 games. What? Let's see. Yeah, 4 games against the Cleveland Browns. They won one of those 23-10. That's the only time he's led them to 20 plus points against the Browns. 16 in that first matchup in 2021. They ended up going to the Super Bowl, but they lost that one. That was right after Odell Beckham Jr. got traded by the Browns, and Baker and company just played really, really well. He sat that second game of that year because they had already clinched the AFC North title. And then in 22, they lose 32-13. Then they beat Deshaun Watson 23-10. And then last year, week 1, we remember 24-3. So they haven't put up a ton of points. And I'm just preparing myself, and this is kind of what I'm expecting. I think that the game against the Giants is a good way to get people ready, because I'm expecting ugly football on Sunday. I think it is going to be ugly again, where there's going to be mistakes and defensive lines are going to wreck the game a bit and keep these offenses out of rhythm. Maybe not, right? Joe solved the Baltimore Ravens, and they certainly had a magic elixir to kind of tame him for a bit. Well, the Browns have done that now for a little bit. And I do wonder if Joe and Zach and Dan Pitcher and these guys, they find a way to get the offense going. And I think that that's interesting. But going into it, I'm expecting it to be one of those AFC North grinded out type games.
You make an interesting point about continuing sort of the ugly football, finding ways to win, but continuing the ugly football nonetheless. I was wondering, again, in this Giants game, is it more of getting the ugly football out of your system before you finally go and play the Browns? Is it's something going to actually, or are they holding back of it? You know, not that I don't think they actually do that, but are they going to get a little more creative, open the playbook, so to speak, against the Browns now that they've kind of secured this ugly win against the Giants?
Yeah, I'll say this: go up there and win. It doesn't matter how. I'm serious.
Yeah,
because it's a division game. You're 0 in the AFC. You're 0-1 in the North. You need to get to 3-4. And so you're playing a last place team 1-5. Deshaun Watson's going to hear everything all week about how historically bad he is. Kevin Stefanski's sticking with him. He's the starter. Fine. Well, make him get benched. Like, if you're the Bengals, that's what you do. Like in your head, like that's what it is. It's like, all right, we're going to make sure Deshaun Watson gets benched this game. That should be the goal. And that is not unrealistic if this defense can get after Deshaun, make him uncomfortable. And then at the same time, if you flip it, big challenge for this Bengals offensive front. And they got challenged last week, a bit different this week. Obviously, Myles Garrett moves all over. You got to keep 95 away from number 9. And if you do that, the Browns, they're so unique because they have corners that can cover your receivers. So I do wonder, and we'll have time to talk about it throughout the week here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk, but how these tight ends, these running backs, how it's all going to fit, because you're going to need more than just Jamar and T, I think, to beat Cleveland.
You know who probably has some thoughts on this? I'm just going to throw it out there. The mothership, big play, the Nick Padone out there. Reflog, any of you. I haven't gotten an invite to talk about this with Big Play. Have you, James?
Who? I already told you. I don't know who that is.
Oh, okay. We're playing that. All right, that's fine.
I'm not playing anything. Who?
I mean, I got to deliver this video to them. I can't say who. I have their contact information.
Which fan are you? That's right. I'm going to ask Andrew a very important question about the Cincinnati Bengals coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller. Make sure you grab a garage beer and catch us every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern right here on the YouTube channel Cincinnati Bengals Talk, also weekly on Bally Sports. And Andrew, let's get into something that I thought was quite funny at the end of Sunday night's game at MetLife Stadium. The Bengals handle business against the Giants 17-7, and there's still right around 2 minutes left. It was right after Chase Brown scored the touchdown. And usually I take the stairs because you can kind of control your own destiny. But the media, me and multiple writers, Charlie Goldsmith, Paul Dehner Jr., Mike Petraglia, we decided to take the elevator because there's still almost 2 minutes left. We got a shot. And we're thinking the elevator is going to go from 6 press box all the way to 1 ground level. Well, it made a couple stops on the way. And as you can see in this picture, we are in a packed elevator, just filled with fans, with media. There are some Giants writers on there, certainly some Giants fans on there. And a couple times it stopped at levels and we were like, no, you can't fit. There's no more. So I got to ask you, which person, when you watch this or you look at this picture, describes you and how you're feeling about the 2024 Cincinnati Bengals right now?
Oh, that's the thing about anxiety, James. It's every face here into one. No, it kind of is, but depends on the moment. Depends on the second. I don't know. Yeah. I'm thinking I'm probably more. I'm definitely not you. I don't know. Whoever's going to say that they are you, I don't even know if I want to meet them because I know enough about you. I don't know how many more of you I need in my life. But let's see. I'm probably somewhere in the Trags spectrum happening here between Trags and Buddy behind Paul with the Coles button up there. Yeah, that's I'm somewhere in that realm. It's the, hey, head down, focus, don't react one way or another. You gotta just let things happen and internalize until resolution.
I think a lot of people are Charlie Goldsmith, where they're like
This is fine.
giggling because they don't want to cry. Correct.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
That's right. Just like, I can't believe. I mean, you got to think this is like 11, 15-ish, 11-ish on Sunday night. Trags is like, I can't believe I'm in this elevator. I'm just dying. Because we're all like this, like just shoulder to shoulder. And I'm like, you know what? Let's take a picture. And you're right. Cole's button up did not like that. He's eyeing that camera like, I can't believe this dude is taking a photo.
But
The
he's not
Giants
upset.
fan,
He's not visibly angry. That's not how I feel. There's just, it's kind of looking over your shoulder a bit. Like,
and the Giants fan behind him though. Oh my God, look at her.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like,
That
Eli,
was about,
come back.
yeah, that was
Eli,
about
come back.
75% of Twitter X Bengals fandom during the game. Charlie, to be fair, that's probably how I felt when Chase Brown made the touchdown. Like, this is a good thing, but you know.
What were you doing when you saw the fumble? It had to be Trags when Chase Brown fumbles.
The fumble. Oh man, there's someone you didn't let on that elevator that probably reflects that better. But yeah, it's probably Trags or it's the Giants fan back there with the glasses on her head. That's, yeah.
It's my favorite. The glamour life that is being an NFL beat reporter. He's Andrew Fox-Miller. I'm James Rapien. That's going to do it for this week on Enter the Jungle. We will be covering Bengals Browns all week long. So make sure you subscribe to Cincinnati Bengals Talk. And for Andrew, I'm James. Thank you so much for watching Enter the Jungle.
See you Sunday, big play.